Everyone, welcome to your weekly edition of Show Me How It's Done. My name is Lauren Bonus, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Now, I am delighted this week to show you a little barn card using the Cutest Cows bundle. This card was inspired by Susan Campfield because this fold, I don't even know what to call it. What did she call it? The Marvelous Fun Fold was inspired by her. She had done a lot of these folds using various bundles from our catalogs. And as soon as I saw it, I thought, hey, this would be a perfect little barn door. So I'd like to give her thanks for the inspiration, and I want to show you how to do this card today. So before I get into that, I want to show you how you can find this bundle. There is a stamp set and a punch that you can find on page 53 of our January to April mini catalog, and this is 2024. So I'm really hopeful that this maybe carries on into the next annual catalog, but we'll have to wait and see. I don't have that information yet. If you are wondering and kind of like hoping that you can get your hands on this, I would suggest just getting it now, because even if it carries over to the next catalog, you won't be able to buy the stamp and punch together for a 10% discount. And if you're like me, every couple dollars that you can save just goes towards a new stamp set or something else that you can add to your like adhesive stash or something. So any money you can save is a good thing. You can, of course, purchase these separately. You can make adorable little cows using just the punch. But if you grab the stamp set, there's some really cute sentiments and kind of fun add-on features as well for it. So really, really fun, easy to use. Okay, I'm going to move this guy, but you'll notice that as we craft, I'm going to be pulling out a few of the little critters. I've got a couple of these little chicks mounted in the grass to decorate the inside of my project, and then we're going to use a cow head and body to kind of finish off. You can choose your sentiment. I need a couple birthday cards, so I'm doing It's Your Special Day, but I also think this What's Moo with You would fit and look quite adorable as well. So lots of potential there. Okay. And I will need that later, but we'll move it for now. Okay, we're going to start with a card base. Now, just so you guys know, I have put all of the measurements and the supply list in the description on this video. So if I ever go too fast or you miss something, just hit that pause button. You can go check that list, and then you can come back and keep crafting with me. Okay, so for this card, we're going to do 6 score lines. I know you can see 2 of them quite visibly, but we need 6 of them here. So we're going to go 2 1/4, 2 1/2, then we're going 5, 5 1/2, moving over to 8, 8 1/4. So I'll give those to you one more time just to make sure that we're all on the same page. So we're going 2 1/4, 2 1/2, 5, 5 1/2, 8, 8 1/4. Those are all the score lines that you're going to need to do on this project. So you can go ahead and put this away. You won't need it again. Okay, we need to do some folding. So a bone folder is going to be your best friend. We're going to take the left and the right panels here and fold them in. That's what's going to make our little barn doors. So it doesn't matter which side you start with, and it doesn't matter which of the 2 score lines you start with, you're going to be folding inwards for both. So fold inwards for one, give it a nice crisp line, and then I like to just kind of fold in front of me here, inwards for the second. Okay, so there's my 2. It will leave you this kind of little up edge that kind of is just raised. It does fold flat though, so that's fine. other side is going to be the exact same thing. We're going to fold that in and then find your second line and fold that in as well. So there's the two sides. Those are both ready to go. Now for this middle section, I know you can barely see those two lines, but hopefully you can see it on your project in front of you. We're not folding in, we're folding out, okay? So I'm actually gonna do this all at once. So here's what it looks like in front of me, and then I'm just gonna fold backwards, and then do make sure you put this against your desk or your table and give it a nice flat look as well. So what you should have when you've burnished everything is something that kind of looks like an M, or if you went the other way, it'll look like a W. Okay, so one of the two letters is kind of how this should look. It should look about symmetrical, so you should have these two side panels. They are about a quarter of an inch shorter than the middle, but they should be about the same position. As long as it looks like this, you're good to go. Now everything is equal spacing, so it doesn't matter which way you have this set up, but I'm gonna start decorating my card, okay? So here's the inside of this card here, and I haven't done any stamping on this one, but I did do a sample for you guys in brown instead of a black background. I did one on pecan pie, just to see which one I liked better, and I went a little crazy and had fun stamping and coloring some chicks in there. So that's what I'm going to show you how to do on this one as well when we get there. But for now, we need to do some cutting. First thing we're going to add is a piece of designer series paper. So this, I need to move up, sorry. This designer series paper that I'm using is just a little strip from our Zoo Crew designer series paper. Kind of looks like little cow spots, so I thought it was fun. But if you had anything black or white, or you can even use a stamp set that you have that has spots and just make your own strip, it's going to be about a ½ inch wide by 4 inches long. This is getting turned over, and you can attach it into this little crevice in the middle. Now I am a double-sided tape person, but whatever your preference is, whether it's glue or seal or tape, please feel free to use whatever you're most comfortable with. There we go. Okay. There you are. Now the next panels that I want to do are going to be those two red pieces on the sides here. But since you're cutting one set of red panels, you might as well cut both because we're using red panels on the inside and red panels for the front of the card, okay? And you're probably wondering, because I know this is bothering me, there's that little spot here. It's getting covered up, so I'm going to pretend it's not there. It's not worth wasting my paper over, okay? So to cut these two inside panels, we're going to cut those at 2 1/4 by 4, and you need 2 of them. So 2 1/4 by 4, 2 of those. The front panels, we're going to cut now too. They will be 2 inches by 4 inches. And these guys, if you want to give it that authentic barn look, can be embossed. So we have a really cute embossing folder right now called the Timber 3D embossing folder. That's the one I chose. But in the past, we have definitely had other wood grains. And so if you have one of those on hand instead, you can use that too. So we are not going to attach the 2 small ones at the moment. Those need to be set aside, and we'll deal with that later. But you can attach these 2 panels once they are ready to go. So these are the 2 large ones. Putting tape or whatever you'd like onto them. There we go. They're the same, so one on the left and one on the right, doesn't matter. They will have just a tiny border around them. A little bit bigger than the designer paper had, I guess. There we go. There's the two. So now we are going to add 2 white panels. Those are going to be great for you to write a little note on. But if you want to do some stamping on them, let's get that done first. Okay, so I'm going to bring in my little brown cow so you can see here how I've decorated. Now these 2 white panels are going to be 2 inches by 4 inches, and we'll do our stamping on them before we add it, because if you make a mistake, it's easy to just cut a new panel or to even flip this over. Okay, so starting with a little bit of grass, I'm using my old olive ink pad, and there is a cute little grass stamp. Oh, you can't see that. There you go. Move up. There you go. And one on the left. Good. Whenever you're doing something that you're going to color later, we always stamp in our Memento Black, because this ink does not bleed into your markers. It won't pull the colors, and you won't get a nice mix-up of ink versus marker. Okay, it's also an alcohol base pad. So one little chick, one daddy rooster, or whatever critter you wanted to use. And I'm going to show you the colors that I use to color, but of course you can use anything that you have at home too. So I've got my dark Parakeet Party to add some nice color to his feathers. Then I'm going to go with a dark Poppy Parade for this top headpiece, and I don't really know what this guy is called on a chicken. I know it's a wattle on a turkey, but who knows? Maybe somebody can tell me if it's the same for a rooster. And this is little Rooster Jr., because he's got a little wattle too. Right there. Then I'm going to go with a dark Daffodil Delight to do a little bit of the beak and heads. I just went with nice rich colors because I thought the red and the blue and the green that I'd already chosen were quite strong, so Daffodil Delight kind of fits right in with that. There we go. Now the little rooster isn't quite a man yet, so he's going to go light Daffodil Delight for his feathers. And the dad, though, he's going with bronze. I'm going to go with a brown to kind of make him stand out a bit. There you go. Okay, whenever you're happy with those two, you can now put them on the inside panels of your card. One thing to note, that if you're coloring with blends, they do tend to soak through. So if you've made a mistake, it's not so easy just to turn the paper over. You'd probably just have to cut another panel, but that's why we do this off of the project, and we don't have to rip it off in the end. Left little guy. And a right little guy. Okay, so now for the moment, I'm going to set this card base aside. I need to do some work on the doors on the front and the inside little window that the cow sits on, and it's easier to do those off the card. Okay, so I'm going to set this to the side, and we're going to get working on these two front barn doors. So those are going to bring back the 2 red pieces that we've already cut and embossed, the 2x4-inch ones. And then you need about 9 or 10 little white strips. Now these little strips are 1/4 of an inch by about 4 1/4. They can be longer, but you probably don't really want them shorter. And they are a great use of your edge pieces whenever you're, cutting card insides and you have those edge pieces left. Think ahead and make a bunch of these skinny little guys for projects like this, because they add a lot of character without a lot of waste. Okay, so these I am putting my skinny 1/8 of an inch tape on. Unfortunately, Stampin' Up! Doesn't sell this one, so you can use glue or you can use a fine tip glue pen. But if you want this, most craft stores would have it as well. So it's a 1/8 of an inch double-sided tape. Glue works just as well though. Okay, so I'm getting all of mine ready in advance so that when I'm started assembling, I can just keep going. Two right here. There's 1. There's 2. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to make my doors the exact same. So what I do to one of them, I'm just going to copy and do to the next one, and that will make them identical for us. Okay, so we're starting with the X across the middle of the door, and you'll note that your little pieces don't quite reach the ends. Don't stress about that. You're covering those edges up, and nobody's going to notice the difference. Okay, so it doesn't matter whether you go right to left or left to right, but just do the same on both cards. And then come in and do the opposite one. So as you're counting these up, I think you need about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 strips per panel. So we're going to need about 10 of these little strips prepped for this card. Okay, so you do want a pair of scissors handy because I'm using 1 strip for both the top and the bottom. So I'm going to go right to the edge of this top one and attach my white strip right here. Then I'm going to turn this over and trim right now and do the bottom. So you don't have to do this, but I've already put adhesive on the back of this, and I don't really want all of that to go to waste. So it's just kind of an easy way not to have that waste, and we'll trim this at the very end. Okay, so don't worry about trimming all the fine details. These little ones are fun to get the adhesive off of sometimes. There we go. Okay, same thing. Do the top and then give it a trim and do the bottom. Now for the side pieces, we're going to do all 4 of those sides from the top to the bottom. You are going over top of the white pieces you've already laid down, and that's just for your sanity because it's really tricky to try and fill this little space here. It's just nicer to go from top to bottom. 2, 3, and 4. I think I cut myself one extra white piece, which is not a bad thing, but I don't need it. So he can just move over. I have a few more of these to make, so there we go. Once all of this is adhered, then you can turn this over and go ahead and trim off any of these white overhangs because they are not very nice for the finished card. One, two, and while these are overturned on your table, might as well add some adhesive to the back of them, and we'll get them mounted onto our card. They're both the same, so it doesn't matter which side they get attached to. You're just going to make sure that one goes on the left and one goes on the right. There we go. Okay, put this aside again. We are now going to work on this little pop-up feature, this middle window here, okay? So a little bit more cutting. We need one basic black square. This is going to be 3 inches by 3 inches. And one blue square. This is the Azure Afternoon cardstock. And I've made that 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. You can leave it plain, it looks cute, but I thought it was really fun to add some details, so I used our Raindrops embossing folder. And I just added a few raindrops in behind my little cow. So I embossed this with that Raindrops embossing folder from the annual catalog. All right, make sure your raindrops are facing the right way. We don't want them going up into the sky. To do this little grassy hill, you're going to cut yourself a piece of 3/4 of an inch by 2 3/4 of Granny Apple Green. We might have some sets that have a hill die, and you're more than welcome to go and use that, but this set does not. And so as much as possible, I wanted to keep it using the products in this suite. So I'm going to cut my hill. I'm just making a little hill on the right, going down and adding a little valley to the end. They are not going to look the same every time, but as long as it's a one fluid cut, it will look great. Okay, going to put this on the bottom of our little seam here. You can see I went over with my tape. It's no problem, just fold it backwards. That'll fit right in there. And then for your sentiment, I'm using the smallest of the stylish shapes circles, and I'm going to stamp in my Memento Black. You're going to need this black again, so you can maybe just keep it handy. Get this guy up on a dimensional and out of your way. And I put that just in the upper right-hand corner. There we go. All right, now for a cow. Let me show you how to do your cow if you've never played with our punches before. Okay, so we're going to mount a body. Again, make sure it's the one that's facing towards the right because that's the only one that coordinates with the punch, or else you can do it if you like hold this up to a light or something, but it's not easy. You'd have to fussy cut him the other way. Okay, so facing the other this way, and then whichever head or face you like. We're going to stamp those in Memento and stamp on our little white paper. Now it's up to you. You can either color these before you punch them, or you can punch them and then color them if you're afraid you might not like your punch accuracy. You might not want to have put all the effort into coloring if it's just going to go to waste. So it's totally up to you. I'm going to try and risk it. I'm going to color here. So I've got my bronze marker for this little tuft of hair and his tail. And then we're going to grab any sort of pink that you have. I've got the light 1000 from our natural tones blends. But if you had a petal pink or anything like that, that would work as well. Maybe even the ivory from the bronze and ivory combination. Got his little snout and a little bit on the ears. Now for the dark basic black, you can see the lines that Stampin' Up! Has given you to color in here already on the body, but there's no spots on his head, and I kind of thought he needed them, so I'm going to add my own, and you can decide if you want to do the same. So there's his little hooves. There we go. To the middle of his face. Okay, and then if you want to add spots, I colored the tip of his right ear and just made a little squiggly spot on the left side of his face. Yeah, I think it makes a big difference. Okay, when you're ready to do your punch here. So to open your punch, we're going to press forward on that little latch. When you're closing it, you squeeze together and move that backwards. Okay, so press forward to open. And then this gives you this fun little window, if you put your paper in the top here, that you can look through. So try and make sure it's as centered as possible. You've got lots of white space around him. And stamp towards your table, otherwise you get things flying at you. Same thing for the body. You're more looking to line up his little legs and tail, because it's kind of a trick on your eyes up here. There's not anything attached there, right? So just worrying about these legs. They look good. And squeeze. There we go. Okay, so your little cow, we're going to pop him up on dimensionals. You can attach the head to the body now if you want, with like a little glue dot or something, but I kind of, pardon me, didn't find it necessary to do that ahead of time. So I'm going to just put a couple dimensionals on his little body. Put that down here. And then we're going to put one dimensional on his head. And here's the fun part. You can kind of make him be serious and straight, or you can tilt his head so he's kind of looking at you. Whatever you want, you can adjust his little head to do that. Okay? So this is ready to attach to our card now. But how do you attach it? That's the fun part, right? Okay, so remember this fun little spine? It's going to come in handy because that's the only place this square is going to be attached. We're not putting any adhesive on the back of our square. All you're going to do is put 2 large dimensionals in the middle of this designer series paper. And that's what's going to hold this square up. So try and have it as centralized as possible. You've got about an equal space top and bottom and left and right. Whenever you're happy, you can go ahead and press that down. And there's your card. He's so cute. And then to fold it, you'll kind of have to squish it up. And these little flaps automatically will come in behind. You can squish it down to either side to fit in an envelope, so it's easy for you to mail. And of course, keep in mind you can switch colors. It doesn't always have to be what I've shown you. You guys can have your cows all different colors. You can use a different critter if you want, but I do hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please reach out. And I would love if you just liked and subscribed to my channel too. Your support just means a lot. If you're interested in shopping, my website is at the bottom, learnerbonus.stampitup.net. And just keep in mind that if you're in Canada, then you can shop for me, and I send you a little card kit for for an order that's over $35, and that is before shipping and tax. So this was one of my March monthly club cards. We did 3 cards, one using the Cutest cows, one using Ice Cream Swirl, and one using a new online exclusive called Simply Zinnia. So you'll get a set of cards and a little video tutorial on how to assemble those as a thank you gift. And yeah, I'm here if you have any questions too. So thanks for joining me. Tune in next Tuesday because there will be another edition of Show Me How It's Done for you. Bye.